If a client is hitting on me, that might make me uncomfortable at first. But there is such a thing as setting boundaries, and I'm really good at setting boundaries. Okay. I raised 4 girls.
Okay.
So that being said, no, but it does help. It has helped me to be a mom who raised 4 girls and learning how to set boundaries. So I am very quite clear about setting boundaries and asking people to leave if they have to, because I may not be a good fit for you. And I think that's the only time really that I've had any kind of discomfort, and that doesn't really, it has not really happened. Not in my private practice. I've never had anyone disrespect me. In my other setting, I've had people come on to me, but definitely setting boundaries. So that's the only thing that would cause me discomfort at first. And other than that, I really have not had many topics that I'm uncomfortable with, because throughout my schooling and well after, I continue to explore and add to my body of knowledge so that whoever walks into my office, I'm educated about the situation. And if I'm not, I'm open about it. I know a little bit about it, and I can explore more with them.
In terms of the alternative lifestyles that are becoming more and more prevalent nowadays, how do you deal with that in terms of a therapist?
How do I deal with it?
How do you recommend, or how do you speak to them?
You do not recommend.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Okay.
I will not, personally, I do not recommend. What I do is, if a couple is considering alternative lifestyles, we talk about it. And communication is huge in this one. It's the key. It's learning how and making sure that both couples are on the same page as they begin to explore that new journey or that new route that they want to take, and that they are mentally ready, that both of them are mentally ready to explore that realm. I've had a couple who came in because they were not sexually active for almost a year because he shut down. He shut down because he asked her to do something. May I?
Of course.
So he asked her for fisting. That is a very skilled thing, and it's not usual, even if you are in a lifestyle, it may not be something that you're educated about. And not only that, in my opinion, I feel people need to, if they're going to go into this lifestyle, they need to get really educated so that they can be safe in their practice. A lot of these things can have unsafe measures or unsafe results, and you really want to know what you're doing. So this was one example where, because she did it and she was willing to try it, and she didn't like what she saw when she pulled her hands out, and she got grossed out. And it shut him down. It shut him down because now he feels that she feels he's gross. And you can see where that can come. That just simply escalate from there. So he had to really have a talk to, because you don't throw somebody into BDSM. You don't throw somebody into kink. You literally take baby steps, unless the person is willing to just jump in both feet. But with all these practices, it is a lifestyle, and you're not just going to jump into it. You walk into it, you get to know about it, and you learn about it as much as you can. And you also want to make sure, again, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to be on the same page with your partner. If that's not what they want, it's not going to work. So he did not consult with her to see what she wanted, and when he felt rejected when she no longer wanted to do it because she was grossed out by it. And who wouldn't be if you pull your hand out and there's a bunch of feces on it? So, and if he had really thought about it, and he was also somebody who educated himself, he would have prepped himself properly enough. And I gave you some very heavy examples, so forgiveness to your audience.
It's okay. It's okay.
I could have used easier ones, but those are real life situations that I've encountered. He would have learned about it, educated himself, prep himself better, and walk her through it, help her look at a couple of videos or whatever the case may be, in order for her to be prepped, not just physically prepped, but mentally prepped for what she may encounter. And it probably would have gone better. So that's why I really strongly encourage people, if you're going to do any kind of kink, BDSM, which is bondage, what would it be? Bondage, dominance, sadism, masochism, any kind of these plays, basically play. If you're going to play at all, learn about it before you just got into it, especially if you have a partner that you want to bring into the arena. So I hope that answered your question.
It did.
How I deal with it.
It did. From one extreme to the next, how about kids who are trying to figure out their sexuality? If they're straight, they're gay. How do you deal with that as a therapist?
I personally do not work with children, just to make that clear. Not in my private practice, but I am definitely open to helping parents, because I do have parents who come in and their issue is, how do I deal with it?
Right.
So it's educating the parents to support their children. If a child is unsure, or a young person is unsure about their sexual orientation, just give them time and allow them to be, because it could shift from one place to another. One thing you do not want to do is tell them that they're going through a phase.
Really?
Well, it may not be a phase.
True.
It may be who they are. They might be fully aware and have insight of their orientation at an early age. Just because they are young doesn't mean that they're just jumping on the bandwagon
Correct.
and doing what everybody else is doing, you know? So work with them with respect and respect of their choice. And I'm saying that, and I know that it's really, really hard for parents, especially if you have certain religious beliefs.
Yes.
It's going to be really, really hard. And
Especially
I'm not
Caribbean
minimizing
parents.
that. Oh my
Caribbean
gosh.
parents,
I can't even begin to talk about
those things
that.
are taboo. So,
It's totally tabooed.
Yeah.
And when you make it so tabooed, your child's not even going to come to you.
Correct.
So imagine this young person struggling on their own, and they feel so alone. And that's a dangerous place to be. And that is why there's such, and I'm not going to say that is why, let me rephrase that. It can definitely have an impact on how they view life. It can definitely increase level of depression in young people when they feel so alone in their situation, and they have no outlet, no one to talk to, no one who can help guide them through through processing what they're going through. You can see how this person can become depressed. And the more severely depressed people get, the more concerned I get about potential suicidal thoughts or intent, or even resulting in ending their lives. So it can go really, really far too quickly. I am a proponent of, please, if you don't know what to do, talk to a therapist.
Correct.
Talk to someone. If it's not a therapist because you can't afford it, and there are a lot of resources out there, Google it. There are support networks that you can go online and talk to a group of people who are experiencing the same thing you are, who don't know how to talk to their children about sexual orientation. There's a whole lot out there for people. So you don't even need to come on one-on-one. Just get the resources to educate yourself so you can better help your children. Because the world is changing. People are recognizing who they are a lot quicker.
Yes.
And they may have in the past, but they wouldn't talk about it, but now they're willing to. And as a result, I do encourage parents to please support their kids. And if you don't know how to talk to them, like I did when I didn't know what to tell my daughter, run out and get a book. But since there was no internet back then, or was there? Well, it wasn't widely used. Log in on the internet. There are a lot of support groups out there that are for free, that people can use to educate themselves or get the support they need so that they can be a support to their young ones.
Wow.
Or get them the help to see a therapist.
Correct.
Even if you think they're going through a phase. Obviously, they're going through something and they need help. They want some guidance. So.
Anything else you want to expand upon for the audience? Anything that have asked you that you want to talk about?
Get help. No, for real, especially amongst my people. And I mean the people from the islands, people of color. It is so stigmatized, even more so for us than it is for the general public. It's stigmatized, period.
Go ahead.
And I can't say that enough, and we need to stop looking at it as a negative thing. If you don't know how to get the help, ask somebody. Again, internet is huge. It's gonna guide you to whomever. If you don't have the money, find free resources. If you are in school, you have your guidance counselors. There's also therapists that are in the school system that you can go to. There are your physicians, your MD, your primary care, your neurologist. I don't care who it is. If you're seeing a medical personnel and you feel like you're feeling depressed or you're confused or you're anxious or you're having sexual difficulties, talk to them. And it doesn't even matter how old you are.
Okay.
A lot of pediatricians are beginning to ask children about their sexuality, about sex.
At what age?
With the parents. You know, there's always been debated. It is definitely, again, with parental approval.
Correct.
You want to be able to talk to them about it based on their age and age appropriate. But children are becoming sexually active at a very early age. So with the parents' permission, you can ask them. I remember my daughter telling me in the 8th grade that kids were underneath the staircase, in the hallway, or in the bathroom, having oral sex. And they weren't calling it sex because there was no penetration. So just because you're not having penetrative sex doesn't mean you're not having some level of sex.
Correct.
And the reason I say that, even if you're not having penetrative sex, you're having oral sex, it is something that can also lead to other things. For example, herpes. So you want to, an oral herpes, that is. You want to talk to your kids about these things when you feel that they are mature enough and when you think there is a need.
Gotcha.
So it's really hard to say at what age, but if they present with some sort of issues or they're savvy enough to talk about it, then continue the conversation. Physicians ought to also continue the conversation. Parents, I believe, ought to talk to their pediatrician and say, hey, can you intervene or help me know or educate me about how to talk to them in their presence. Especially if they are uncomfortable with it. So,
you know, I've had this conversation on my radio show as to at what age do you speak to your kids about sex? What age is age appropriate that you speak to them in depth about sex? What do you think?
Again, it depends on the maturity of the child.
Oh, the child, gotcha.
If you recall, I mentioned that my oldest asked me the question she did, and I do recall it's like the 3rd or 4th grade. And oh gosh, can't remember what age that would be, but it's definitely at a very young age, right? So shall we say what, 10? Not sure what the 4th graders are, forgive me right now. But that's a very young age. Now, should I say you're too young to talk about that and dismiss it? If I did, she's still gonna be curious, but she's gonna go to her friends who know nothing.
Correct.
She's going to go on the streets or ask anybody. She's going to get her information that is from sources that may be inaccurate.
Correct.
That may not be appropriate. That also may not be age appropriate. More reason why, as a parent, you want to step in and be that person, because at least you are providing accurate information to them and information that they can use at the moment, but also that's going to carry them on through life. So again, I know I'm not being very specific.
That's fine.
Because you have 18-year-olds who have never talked about sex, and you don't want to bombard them with too much information at once because they're not ready.
Got it.
So how ready the person is in order for you to provide the information in a way they can receive it.
Okay. If a client or potential client wants to meet with you, does it have to be in person? Or can they do a Zoom? Or, I mean, nowadays Zoom is so prevalent.
That is correct.
Okay.
So no, they don't have. It doesn't have to be in person. I do currently provide telehealth.
Okay.
And I do in person. It's limited in person. So telehealth is predominant right now. So I have both options.
Okay. Okay. How do they get in contact with you?
Best would be to email me at Maggie Bonnet at patricorcounseling.com.
Okay.
So again, that would be Maggie, Maggie Bonnet, at Petrichor, Petrichor, counseling.com.
Okay. And there's also a website that they can go on.
Yes, they can go to the Petrichor Counseling website, and you can find my bio there. You can also go on Psychology Today and find my bio there. I get a lot of my clients from Psychology Today. Okay.
How many years have you been doing this?
I have been doing a combination of all this for over 30 for definitely at least 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Total.
one will feel comfortable because you are seasoned in the business.
I'd like to believe I'm seasoned, but
Yes.
always learning. There's always something new coming, which is why we always have to continue to get our education. It's actually mandated that you get continuing education in
Got
order
it.
to maintain your licenses. So you're always adding to your body of knowledge because things are changing. The things I learned in 2011 when I was getting my doctorate, or when I first started pursuing my doctorate, has changed. The rules have changed. The laws have changed. The insurance company has changed. Like I recently learned, it wasn't this recent, maybe a couple of years ago, that the insurance company, I think in California, was paying for sex changes, or I wouldn't say change, but reaffirmation surgery. It wasn't like that when I was in school. We were told it's an absolute no. There's no way. It's not going to
Right.
happen. Not in America.
Wow.
And then I was listening to a podcast, and the guest said that they were able to get it covered.
California is
So-
very liberal, so.
It is. It is. So things keep changing, so I have to keep learning.
Right. Before you go, what advice do you have to give to, I guess, mainly Caribbean folks? I know everybody's kind of apprehensive to go to a therapist, but, we mainly have a Caribbean audience that I want to
Yes.
talk to. What do you say to them that wants to go to a therapist but is apprehensive?
I respect, I understand the level of apprehension. I really understand, because that in itself is creating distress.
Correct.
But is it worth continuing to be in distress? Is it really worth it? Because you are suffering silently inside when there is help out there for you. And we don't bite. We don't bite. We're professionals. A sex therapist does not mean that they're going to be involved in all sorts of things. They're there to talk about your sexual health and to help you achieve optimal sexual functioning. So as threatening as it may sound when you hear the word sex and sex therapy or sexologist, it really is not that bad. It's just conversation. It's just talking.
Yes.
Talking to somebody who's going to put you at ease to be able to address anything. So that's that part. Depression, please get help. Don't just suffer silently with depression, because you can deteriorate. You can continue to deteriorate to a point where, I don't know, there's always hopefully a point of return. But again, why suffer silently for so long? Why be in pain emotionally for so long when there's help out there? Bypass the stigma. Understand that there is apprehension, but we're here to help you feel safe, provide a safe environment and platform where you can talk about these issues without judgment. I myself and most therapists are non-judgmental. I'm a sex positive, non-judgmental therapist. I'm culturally sensitive because I am from another culture and I have had to learn about other cultures. Cultural diversity is mandated in all of our practices, whether at the master's level, doctorate level, when you become a therapist. And now I think for most probably for most professions, you have to really talk about and acknowledge the cultural diversity and how to work with different people from different cultures. What worked for the Caribbean population does not work for the Asian population. It's a completely different culture.
Correct.
And so we have to learn to be sensitive to all this. So we really do work hard on providing a platform where you feel safe. This is your safe zone. This is whatever you share here stays here. We are bound by laws, by ethical laws. So it's not like your business is going to be everywhere, because that's something else people are concerned about, especially in our community. I don't want my business out there.
Correct.
There's nothing that's going to go out there. I'll lose my license if your business is out there.
Correct.
And I can't afford to risk that.
Right.
So realistically, just in a nutshell, this is a safe place. It really is. And I really, really urge you, I beg you to really seek the help. When you need it, if you need it, don't hesitate to come to someone like myself or any of my colleagues to get the help needed.
I learned a lot today myself. Some stuff that I didn't even realize, and you take for granted a lot of things. So I learned a lot. I want to thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my
Likewise,
pleasure.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Did you have a
Rico.
phone number you can give to them or anything? Any?
Why the phone number is not in the back of my mind, I do not know, because
Okay.
I have a
No
cell
problem.
number that isn't, but I would want them to call the office number, which I do have over here. But again, if you do go to the website, and I do apologize for not being prepared with the
That's
number,
okay. That's all right.
but if you go to the website, you will be able to get the phone number, because you are encouraged to call the office manager anyways,
Gotcha.
at least for initial intake. So that number will be on the website, and you will call them. They will access me, but I will respond as well if you email me. So that's an easy route, especially for emailing. You'll find us immediately.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
There you go. Once again, it's yours truly, Rico Vibes, the Rico Vibes video podcast, and we'll be right back.